How should we understand the basic psychological needs of self-determination theory? Let's have a look at their definition. SET assumes that people have three basic psychological needs, which are defined as those nutriments that must be procured by a living entity to maintain its growth, integrity, and health. The satisfaction of these basic needs is considered as essential for a psychological functioning as food, water, and shelter are for physical functioning. Or, as DC and Ryan put it in their article, which was published in 2000, as much as plants need minerals, sunshine, and water, that is the degree to which people need to have their psychological needs met. To date, SET considers there are three basic psychological needs. What are these needs? Well, they can be remembered using a simple A, B, C. Managers usually love this sort of abbreviations. But what are these? Well, let's start. The C stands for competence, or the natural need to have an effect on the environment as well as to attain valued outcomes within it. So the need for competence has to deal with being good at what you do and see the results of what you're doing. The B stands for belongingness, which is a little bit a trick to arrive at the ABC, because in the initial scientific writings, what we call here belongingness was termed relatedness. Belongingness or relatedness is defined as people's inherent need to feel connected to others, to love and care, and to be loved and cared for. And this might sound a little bit dramatic. To feel loved in the workplace, hashtag me too seems to pop around the corner. But yes, even in the context of work, there is a need to feel connected. When I started developing a new work-related need satisfaction scale, I toyed around a little bit with items tapping into the need for belongingness in terms of having someone to talk to and having a friend at work compared to items regarding love and care. I didn't find really much difference between the items and their relationships with other constructs, so I sticked to the more neutral terms. However, some companies, such as Easy, an IT firm who won a reward of Best Employer 5 times in a row here in Belgium, actually does consider love to be an important value. They argue that because they want to develop long-term relationships with their employees, satisfying their need for love is really an important thing to do. The A in our ABC stands for autonomy, and it's probably the most challenging need within SDT. In SDT, the need for autonomy is defined as a need to act volitionally. That means to act in accordance with one's sense of self. The need for autonomy is therefore satisfied when people feel they are doing things in line with who they are and what they want to do in life. That doesn't mean they have to decide everything themselves, however. Having the need for autonomy satisfied does not mean you always have to be independent. It's not always you who decides. For example, if you would go out this evening and your friends decide to take you to a nice restaurant, you might not have picked this restaurant yourself, so you might not have picked it independently. However, you may still feel satisfied in your need for autonomy because you like the restaurant. Or maybe you value learning new places, or maybe you just agree with your friends picking the restaurant because you picked one earlier. If you combine the satisfaction of the need for autonomy with independence, you get a 2 by 2 table including 4 different quadrants. First of all, imagine that you're an employee and you're autonomously independent. This might occur in situations where you're working from home and your boss is nowhere around. So you might volitionally feel that yes, you can tackle this project and your boss isn't looking over your shoulder or even not giving much advice at all. Secondly, you might be non-autonomous independent. Think of you working on a very challenging project, and rather than liking that your boss is not around, you really dread it because you really want his or her input. That means that you are independent, you have to decide everything, but you don't really feel like it, and therefore you're non-autonomous or not satisfied in your need for autonomy at all. The third aspect we would call dependently autonomous or autonomously dependent. This might occur when you're working on a project and you might depend on others, but actually like that very much. You do it volitionally, maybe because the others have more expertise and you really trust them in what they're doing. You might, on the other hand, also be non-autonomously dependent. This occurs in situations where you depend on others, but you would rather actually not to. For example, you may be involved in group work and really depend on the input of others, but rather, if you would be able to choose, you would do the group work all by yourself because then you would know that tasks would get done in time or done at a sufficient level. So, if we look at SDT's basic psychological needs, we can conclude that there are three: competence, belongingness, and autonomy. They nicely form the ABC of motivation according to SDT.